And good morning, Roger Hill of Weathering Heights. Little wake-up caller for you this morning on this first day of December. This weather video is driven by 802cars.com, representing 802 Toyota, Twin Cities Subaru, and 802 Honda. They're all located off of Exit 7 on Interstate 89. Looking at the big picture, we can see our big arc here of precipitation along the frontal boundary. This is rain, of course, and a pretty good surge of moisture that has origins from the Gulf of Mexico that has moved in. And this is what our leading edge is here with the storm system that'll work in late today, mainly about mid to late afternoon in the southern western parts of Vermont, and then overspreading the rest of the state eventually. But some heavy banding develops across southern parts of New England, lifts especially unloads across the Berkshires, adjacent areas of New York State, including the Albany-Schenectady area, north into Bennington and Windham County. And then that band begins to fall apart a little bit and almost dissipate out before it really gets into northern Vermont. Thus, the area around southern Vermont is the main area to watch. Now, also, will be secondary development of a low-pressure system, a nor'easter, developing off the coast. And once that does develop, there'll be a fairly strong sort of east to northeasterly wind along the southern Green Mountains, and a little bit of downsloping. Looks like 35 to 45 mile per hour wind gusts, mostly elevated above, say, 2,000 feet. Some of that maybe perhaps could get down to the valley floors, but this will be accompanied by that banding of heavier precipitation. So I'm not expecting it to be very widespread, but just a very, very slight threat for utilities, nothing serious. We're going to look at wind gusts here, and especially notable across Bennington County, the southern Green Mountains along the western slopes of the Greens. Let's take a look at the latest European computer modeling. You can see that a little bit of green shows up there. Those are gusts that are starting to come through the 30s into the 40s. And right about here is probably the peak of it. That's 07Z, so we're talking a little bit after midnight. And then continuing, it looks like to fall apart once we get into the daylight hours, or sort of pre-dawn here, as those winds begin to fall off. This is valid about 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday. So a little bit of a gust there to worry about. Nothing too significant at this point. Let's get at all the snow. It does look like the HRRR, the high-resolution rapid refresh model, is coming into range now. You can see the startup time. This is valid about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That would be 4, 5, 6, and that's as far as she goes at this point. Let's take a look at the NAM and the HREF. Looking at the NAM, North American Mesoscale modeling, we can see that mixed precipitation begins to scoot into eastern Pennsylvania, a swath across into, looks like Utica, and south and west over towards Syracuse and so forth. This band then changes to all snows and encounters much colder air aloft and at the surface. And the first snow gets in here, it looks like around 4 o'clock. That's 5, 6. This would be 7 o'clock this Sunday evening. Snow is just a little south of the Barre Montpelier area according to the NAM model, and then continuing to move in, but the heaviest snowfall rates come into play at this particular time here, roughly around midnight. There's one wave that works in during the evening hours. It kind of falls apart. A second wave, the most fierce wave, mixed, or rather just heavy snow and relatively dry snow at that, pushes on in. And you can see that that moves into New Hampshire and then kind of dissipates out before getting into northern Vermont. But the whole storm itself is just lighter snowfall during the Monday night into Tuesday phase. You sort of get the idea here. And then it last flakes, it looks like, on somewhere along about Tuesday afternoon as it begins to pull away. And next we're looking at the this morning's modeling from the HREF. This is back through 0Z, so let's get caught up. This is where things stand roughly about this point in time. Some sleet, some freezing rain, some rain behind that, starting to make form into snow as it encounters that colder air, and then pushes into Vermont. This time roughly is about 7 o'clock this evening. That's 8, 9, 10, 11. And you can see how northern Vermont's snowfall just dissipated out, while southern Vermont is just starting to get into that heavier band now. This is roughly about midnight, and then that rapidly becomes very light. And take you through as far as we go here into the day into the afternoon and early evening during the day on Monday. That's it from here, Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights.